At the staff holiday party, my coworker raised his glass and announced, "Here's to our favorite tryhard, always busy, never important." Everyone laughed as he turned to me and added, "Hope you at least get a participation ribbon this year." I smiled, waited 2 days, then forwarded a compilation of his drunken messages bragging about misusing company funds. His extended vacation email went out that same Friday. I'm not the type who usually holds grudges. I've always believed in showing up, doing the work, and keeping my head down. I'm not flashy. I don't gossip. I don't jump in front of the spotlight when a project gets noticed. I just try to do my job and keep things moving. But something about that night, something about the way Brett humiliated me in front of everyone at the company holiday party, it stuck with me. It didn't feel like just a joke. It felt planned. Like he waited until everyone had enough drinks to laugh at someone else's expense, just to make sure the attention stayed on him. The party was at this expensive steakhouse in downtown Minneapolis. Not the kind of place any of us would go to on our own, but the company liked to pretend it was treating us. They brought in an open bar, buffet trays, and even hired some old jazz band nobody cared about. Everyone pretended it was a good time, but we all knew what it really was. A chance for the higher-ups to say, "We appreciate you," without giving anyone a raise. Brett was already loud when I walked in. Laughing too hard, slapping backs, making his usual stupid small talk. He always acted like everyone loved him, and to be honest, most people acted like they did, because it was easier than dealing with his passive-aggressive comments if you didn't. I kept to myself. Got a drink, found a spot near the end of the bar, and tried to stay out of the way. I chatted with a few people I actually liked, but I was mostly just trying to make it through without incident. Then Brett stood up. He clinked his glass with a spoon like we were at a wedding. "To our favorite tryhard," he shouted, cutting through all the noise in the room. People turned to look. I wasn't sure who he meant at first. Then he turned to me and raised his glass higher. "Always busy, never important." People laughed. Not everyone, but enough. I saw my own manager laugh. Even the intern I trained. It was the kind of laughter that twists in your stomach, the kind that makes you realize how fake some people can be. Brett wasn't done. He walked over and clinked his glass against mine. "Hope you at least get a participation ribbon this year," he said, grinning like he was doing me a favor by including me in the joke. I laughed. Just a small one. Pretended it didn't bother me. I even toasted back and smiled. But inside, I felt something break. Not in a dramatic way. Just tired. Tired of pretending like this job meant anything. Tired of being looked at like I was the harmless guy who stayed late and kept the wheels turning while the Bretts of the world got promoted for being loud and full of crap. I left early that night. Got home, poured a drink, and sat in the dark thinking about it. I wasn't angry, not yet. I just felt embarrassed. Not because of what he said, but because of how easy it was for everyone to laugh. Like they were just waiting for someone to give them permission. That's when I remembered the messages. It was a Thursday night a few months back. We were at a bar near the office after a client meeting that ran long. It was just me and Brett. Everyone else had bailed. I didn't even want to go, but he offered to buy the first round and I figured, why not? He got drunk fast. Started bragging. Told me how he was smart about his expense reports. Said he could write off basically anything if he used the right code words. Claimed the company had paid for a Vegas trip he took with his girlfriend, called it client research. He laughed about how dumb the accounting team was. Said nobody double-checked anything as long as you submitted before the end of the quarter. At the time, I thought he was just exaggerating. Or lying. Brett lied a lot. But then later that night, I got a bunch of voice messages from him. Half-slurred, rambling stuff, talking about what he expensed and how he pulled it off. He thought it was funny. Called it free money. I had saved them. Not for any real reason. I just never deleted them. Until that night after the party. That's when it clicked. He humiliated me in front of the entire team. Made me look like a joke. And now I had the power to show everyone who the real joke was. I spent the weekend pulling everything together. I downloaded the messages. Took screenshots of the texts. Even pulled up our company reimbursement system and compared a few of his entries. The dates lined up exactly with the trip he bragged about. Then I called in a favor. There's a guy in finance I helped last year. He needed help organizing a huge spreadsheet mess, and I stayed late 2 nights in a row to get him through it. We'd stayed friendly. I messaged him and asked if he could grab a few PDFs of Brett's recent reports. I didn't say why. He didn't ask. When I got them, everything Brett said in those messages matched up. That Monday morning, I put it all in one PDF. I labeled every part. Included timestamps, receipts, even the audio files. It was clean. Clear. I didn't add any accusations. I just forwarded the facts. Subject: concern regarding potential misuse of company funds. I sent it to HR and copied one person in legal, a name I remembered from the company's compliance training. I didn't hear back. Not a word. But that Friday, Brett wasn't at his desk. His screens were off. His chair was pushed in. Around 10:30, an email went out. Brett will be taking an extended leave of absence. We wish him the best during this time. Nobody said anything. Nobody even looked surprised. But later, someone told me he'd been escorted out before lunch. And that's when things started to change. I thought it would feel better. Watching Brett disappear like that. Knowing I had something to do with it. Part of me expected some kind of recognition, not an award or anything, just a nod. A quiet well done from someone who'd seen what I did and appreciated it. But the office didn't change the way I expected. At first, there was silence. Nobody talked about Brett. It was like he never existed. His name vanished from the team chat. His desk got cleaned out the next Monday, like they were trying to erase him completely. But I could feel it. People knew. They might not have known how, but they knew I had something to do with it. I started noticing the stares. Small things. Conversations would stop when I walked into a room. People who used to chat with me at the coffee machine suddenly looked busy when I showed up. I caught whispers more than once. One guy even made a joke to someone else about not leaving your phone unlocked around certain people. I kept my head down and stayed quiet. I thought it would pass. Then my manager called me into a meeting. Her name's Dana. She's one of those managers who's nice to your face but always finds a way to twist your words in reviews. She smiled when I walked in, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just wanted to touch base, she said. You've been kind of quiet lately. I told her I was just focused on work. Trying to stay productive. She nodded like she understood, but then leaned in a little and lowered her voice. I'm not accusing you of anything, she said. But there's been some tension in the team. I think people feel uneasy. Uneasy? I asked. Why? She paused, then gave me that HR-approved smile. Sometimes when situations happen, like Brett leaving, and there's speculation, it creates a culture of fear. People don't know what's safe anymore. I didn't respond. I just sat there and let her finish. She talked for another 5 minutes about team morale and building trust, but I could read between the lines. I was being marked as a problem. Not Brett, the guy who stole from the company. Me. The guy who reported it. After the meeting, I checked my email and saw something that made my stomach drop. A calendar invite, mandatory. One-on-one meeting with someone from HR. No details. Just the subject line, discussion on reporting protocol. That was the moment I realized something was off. I thought I did the right thing. I followed the rules. But instead of feeling like justice had been served, I felt like a target. Like I'd broken some unwritten rule of silence. That week, my work started getting picked apart. Dana sent back one of my reports and said it lacked clarity, even though it was the same format I'd used all year. Then a project I was supposed to lead got reassigned for visibility reasons. I was being pushed to the edges. Quietly. Then came the worst part. Thursday night, I got a call from my buddy in finance. The one who helped me get Brett's reports. I hadn't talked to him since. I figured he didn't want to get dragged into it. But now he sounded nervous. "Hey, man, just a heads up," he said. "I got called into a meeting today. They asked me if I shared anything with anyone outside my department. I didn't speak. They didn't say your name, but, come on. Who else would it be?" I asked if he was in trouble. He paused. "Not yet. But they're watching me. Be careful, alright?" I don't think they liked how all this went down. He hung up after that. I sat there staring at my screen, wondering how everything flipped so fast. I thought I got justice. But now it felt like I just pulled back a curtain and saw something I was never supposed to see. The HR meeting came the following Monday. Room 312, back hallway, not the normal conference rooms we used. The air felt different in there, colder somehow. No windows. Just a round table and 2 chairs. The woman waiting for me was named Claire. I'd seen her around before, maybe once during compliance training, but never spoken to her. She didn't smile. Didn't even shake my hand. She slid a printout across the table. "I want to talk about this document you submitted regarding Brett." I glanced at it. It was the PDF I'd put together, the same one I'd carefully labeled, double-checked, and submitted clean. She tapped her finger on the first page. "Where did you get these reimbursement records?" I hesitated. "They were shared with me by someone in finance." She tilted her head. "Was this person authorized to give you those?" "I didn't steal anything," I said. "I asked for help. He gave me public-facing files." Her voice stayed flat. "We take data sharing very seriously." There it was. Not "thank you for exposing fraud." Not "you saved the company money." Just a cold warning. Then she said it. "While we appreciate concern for policy compliance, circumventing internal protocols can have consequences." I sat there, stunned. "I reported theft," I said. "Are you saying I'm being investigated?" "We're reviewing the entire situation," she said. "Including how sensitive information was obtained and disseminated." The meeting ended with her handing me a printed copy of the company's reporting guidelines. She told me to review it and make sure I understood the proper channels next time. I left that room more confused than angry. I didn't even know what I was supposed to have done wrong. I followed the rules, or at least I thought I had. But now it seemed like the company didn't care about the truth. They just cared that I made a mess. And Brett's mess was easier to hide than mine. Things got worse from there. That same week, I got locked out of the company Slack channel. No explanation. I submitted a ticket, got a vague response from IT about access being reviewed. Then I noticed my calendar was wiped clean of invites. I wasn't even on the list for the weekly team sync. When I confronted Dana about it, she smiled that same fake smile and said, "I think it might be time you took a little breather. We're all just trying to move forward." I was officially being frozen out. Meanwhile, Brett's friends in sales were still around, whispering, glancing at me when I walked by, laughing when I passed their desks. One of them, a guy named Riley, made a comment in the break room loud enough for me to hear. "Careful, man, or he'll send your Spotify history to legal." I turned and stared at him. He just grinned like it was the funniest thing in the world. That night, I stayed late at my desk, not working, just sitting in the dark office with the glow of my screen. I was trying to figure out what I'd missed. What I'd done wrong. But the truth was simple, I'd embarrassed the wrong people. The company didn't care about Brett's lies. They cared that I'd made them look incompetent. Then something strange happened. Around 9 p.m., I got a message. It wasn't an email. It came through Teams, a chat app one thought I was locked out of. It was from an account I didn't recognize. Just a username, internal_watchdog. There was only one message: you're not the first. But if you want to make it count, stop playing by their rules. I stared at it for a long time. Tried to reply. Nothing. The account vanished. Gone. No history. I didn't know what it meant. But I was starting to think I was in something way bigger than just a petty HR spat. After that strange message from the internal_watchdog, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, you're not the first. That meant others had tried this before, reported something, spoke up, and the company had buried it. Maybe they were punished like I was. Maybe worse. I didn't know. But it confirmed something I already felt deep down. This company didn't want justice. It wanted silence. So I stopped playing by the rules. I started digging. I worked late. Came in early. I acted like I was getting back on track. Kept my head down. Smiled when people stared. Meanwhile, I started looking into every single reimbursement file I could access through our shared finance folders. They weren't locked down as tightly as they thought. Hundreds of receipts, vendor forms, expense claims. Some legit. Many suspicious. A few patterns stood out. One name kept popping up: Dana. My own manager. Dozens of reimbursements logged as client consulting, but the attached receipts were from boutiques, spas, and overpriced restaurants that didn't match up to any business trips. One was a $900 handbag from a store in Chicago. I cross-referenced the date with our PTO logs. She'd been sick that week. And she'd approved Brett's expenses. All of them. No questions asked. I started organizing everything. I took screenshots, downloaded files, linked receipts to calendar entries, pulled internal announcements, even found emails where Dana and Brett joked about skimming perks in vague language. I knew it was risky. I stored it all on a private drive at home, not on the company network. I didn't want any trace. And then I got lucky. My buddy from finance, the one who helped me before, messaged me again. Said he'd been quietly documenting misuse too. Not just Brett. A whole pattern across sales and management. He sent me a zip file. Inside was something I never expected, a spreadsheet showing manipulated quarterly targets. Basically, Brett's whole team had been inflating results. They'd submit fake sales numbers, then cancel contracts quietly a month later, after they'd already gotten their commissions. No one checked. No one cared. It made the team look good. And every time, Dana signed off on it. This wasn't just bad behavior. This was fraud. That's when I made a decision: I wasn't going to send it to HR. They were part of it. Too quiet. Too scared. I went higher. Our company was owned by a much larger corporation, one of those holding companies with a national footprint and strict compliance teams. I found the name of their internal audit lead from a public filing. Then I used LinkedIn and guessed the email format. I sent a single email. Subject: Urgent, Fraud and Subsidiary Division, documentation attached. In the body, I wrote, I believe leadership at, company name, is engaging in systematic expense fraud and sales reporting manipulation. This folder contains evidence. I am willing to cooperate fully and anonymously. I attached the zip file. Then I signed out, shut down my laptop, and waited. 3 days later, hell broke loose. It started with a quiet visit from corporate. Suits walking through the office. Not talking to anyone. Just observing. Then on Wednesday, our entire department was called into the big conference room. Nobody knew what was happening. The door opened. In walked two people from corporate's legal team. One man, one woman. Behind them? Claire from HR, the same woman who scolded me, and she did not look calm. They shut the door and said it bluntly. There has been a credible report of financial misconduct within this office. Effective immediately, this location is under audit. Silence. Phones were collected. Laptops taken. We were told to leave and not return until contacted. Over the next week, I kept getting updates through my buddy in finance. Brett was officially fired. But not just for the expenses, for falsifying sales, forging signatures, and misuse of corporate assets. He lost everything. His LinkedIn went dark. Word spread that his severance was revoked. And because of the nature of his actions, he may be reported to federal authorities for wire fraud. He was also being sued by the parent company for restitution. Dana was next. She was walked out. Not quietly. Screaming. Accusing everyone. HR didn't help her. She tried to claim she was being targeted, but the evidence was too strong. She'd signed off on years of manipulated numbers, forged receipts, and illegal reimbursements. The fallout didn't stop there. 3 people from upper sales leadership were either fired or quietly resigned within the month. A new controller was brought in from corporate. All of finance was restructured. And me? I got a phone call from someone much higher up in the corporate office. His name was Michael. He said he couldn't discuss everything over the phone but wanted to thank me personally. They knew I'd been the whistleblower. He said I wouldn't be named publicly, but that my documentation had saved them from a possible SEC nightmare. A week later, I got an offer. A new position. Higher pay. In a different division. Clean slate. Fully remote. Reporting directly to someone at corporate. I took it. Not because I wanted a promotion, but because I needed to get away from all the rot. But I'll admit something. Part of me liked knowing what I'd done. I didn't scream. I didn't flip tables. I didn't humiliate Brett in front of everyone like he did to me. No. I destroyed him the slow way. The right way. I let him keep laughing. Then I pulled the floor out from under him.